So, students, take your laptops and iPads. We are starting our SAT lesson.
Teacher, how can I solve this history passage? I don't understand it.
What is this? Did you leave your mind in the history?
So, the digital SAT is here for all international students. How should I prepare for that? Is it harder than the previous SAT? Or how the scoring works? If you have so many other questions related to digital SAT, you are in the right place. First of all, what does it mean for the SAT to be digital? SAT is still going to be in the test centers, but you will be taking the test on a computer or iPad. You need to bring your own laptop or iPad during the test day. If you don't have one, you can borrow from a family member or a friend. If you don't have access to any of it, you can lend one from the college board to use during the test day, but you need to request it at least 30 days before your test. The test will be in the Bluebook application. It's your responsibility to download Bluebook and set it up before your test day. By the way, if you haven't downloaded yet, do so as soon as possible because it has practice tests and you will get familiar with using the platform. So, what's the new structure of the digital SAT? There are still two sections. The first, reading and writing section. Unlike the paper-based SAT, reading and writing part are mixed together, so the questions are mixed together also. The biggest change in reading and writing section is that there are no longer long passages for you to read, so there is one question per text. The second section is math section and it's not divided into no calculator and calculator part anymore, so you can use your calculator in all parts of the math. Each section is divided into two modules, meaning that in reading and writing section you will have two modules and in math you will have two modules. How long is the digital SAT? Compared to paper-based SAT, digital SAT is shorter, because reading and writing questions are combined. Also, math questions are reduced in number. The total testing time for the digital SAT is 2 hours and 14 minutes. You will have 64 minutes to complete the reading and writing questions and 70 minutes to complete the math section. The test starts with the reading and writing section, and after 10 minutes of break between the sections, you are moved on to math section. You can move backward and forward among questions in each module before time runs out, but after moving on to next module, you cannot check any questions from the previous module. Digital SAT is an adaptive test, meaning that the first module that you will get contains the broad mix of easy, medium, and hard level of questions. But the second module's difficulty level will be adapted according to how well you did in module 1. It can be either harder or easier. If you performed well, then the second module will be harder, and if you performed bad, the second module will be easier. Okay, I get it. You may think, how about the scoring? Will I get more points if some modules are easier? Okay, let's understand how digital SAT scoring works. Digital SAT is still assessed on a 1600 scale, with each section having a maximum score of 800. Even though it's digital, unfortunately your scores won't come out immediately. You'll have to wait 2 weeks after your test day for your scores to be released. Understanding the scoring algorithm is a big deal if you want to score high on this digital SAT. You may think like, oh, if I get an easier module and get all the questions correct, isn't it better to score higher? But no. I did hours of experimental scorings in the Bluebook to analyze how this module scoring works. As I mentioned, if you get a lot of questions wrong in the first module, you will get easier second module. But if you perform well in the first module, you will get harder one. My experiment was focused on which one is better, getting harder questions and doing them correct, or getting easier module. So, according to my analysis, if you make 7 mistakes in the Blue Book Practice Test 1, you will still get harder second module. But if you make above 7 mistakes, you will get easier module in the second one. So to try out which second module will give you a higher overall score in reading and writing section, I did 7 mistakes in the first module, which is the maximum number of mistakes you can do and still get harder second module. And I did all of the questions in the second module, which are hard questions. I made them all correct, and my score was that 690. In my second try, I purposefully did 8 mistakes in the first module to get easier second one, and in the same way, in the second module, I made all of the questions correct. And my score was 590. As you can see, there is a huge difference between the scores. One of it like 590 and one of it like 690, and you have just one question difference in correct ones. So that means that you should try your best in the first module to get harder second one. If you perform bad in the first module and get easier one, even if you can make all of them correct, but you will get lower score. So as we can see, the first module is very important and try to get the harder second one. In my second experiment, I focused on which questions weight more, harder ones or easier ones. In this one, I made just one mistake in each of these tests, but one of it was in the first module, but in another of it, it was in the second module, which was harder one. When I did first module all correct, I did one mistake in the harder module and got 770. But when I made one mistake in the first module, which is mixed between easy, medium, of course I will get harder module in the second one. And then I made 0 mistakes in the harder module and my score was 760. You may fear of harder questions, but if you make harder questions wrong, you will not lose as much as point as making easy questions wrong. Like if you make easy questions wrong, you will lose a lot of points. Takeaways from this analysis is that focus on the first module. Do not fear of getting harder modules and make hard questions correct, while do not miss easy questions. Do not miss easy questions because you will lose a lot of points. Don't think that if you get easier second module and got them all correct, you will get higher score. No, it's worse. Like even if you do all of them correct, you will still get lower score because you did easier module. Recently, I launched my Ultimate Digital SAT English course. If you want, you can check it out in the comments section. You can still apply until the 7th of March, and the course will start in the 8th of March and will continue for 2 months. There's also a question like, is digital SAT easier than the paper-based one? When we look at it rationally, College Board cares about staying relevant to US admissions and its standardized test, so it's still pretty accurate in determining your college readiness. In my personal opinion, it became slightly easier, especially in reading and writing section. In my opinion, it lost its interest, like even though paper-based SAT reading and writing section was harder, I was still getting a lot of fun doing them because I would learn a lot of information. Like it was interesting to read all of these passages in different topics. I loved them. But when it comes to digital SAT, it's like one text per question, so you will not get a story-like kind of thing. So it's easier, but not fun. When it comes to math, it changed just slightly, and the content is pretty similar to paper-based SAT. The most important part of it is that because College Board just removed no calculator section, like you can use your calculator in all of the math questions, you will come up with more answers that are just not normal numbers. Like what I mean by normal number is that like a lot of decimal numbers that is not easy to calculate by using just your brain. Also now you can have a grid in answers with negative numbers. That is also a big difference. When it comes to practicing for the SAT, don't think that you cannot use past paper-based SAT QS, like practice tests, you can still use them, especially writing section. You will be still practicing for the grammar. Some of the questions are still relevant, so you can recycle them. The transition questions got a lot more in digital SAT, so you can practice these transition questions in the past paper-based SAT. Also, there is a lot of vocabulary in context question in the digital SAT, and you can use vocabulary in context questions from the paper-based one while using old practice tests. Prefer the newest ones because College Board changed the content slightly throughout the years. So the 2022 version of tests are more relevant than the previous ones. Furthermore, if you're a person like me who likes to take a note while doing especially the math questions, bring your own pencil or pen, and you can use scrap paper while doing the digital test. And I highly recommend you to use scrap paper in math section because when you use calculator and make a mistake in one number, it's hard to find the source of the mistake. But if you take note in your paper, you can easily find the mistake if you couldn't find the answer. Also, get used to using Desmos calculator because it's attached to Bluebook. While you are practicing, you can even download the Desmos and just use it as a normal calculator. But if you're not comfortable with it, I recommend you to bring your own calculator. You can do that and make sure to charge it. In the Bluebook, the timer is in front of you, so you can check anytime, or you can hide the timer if you're not comfortable with it. Also, one thing is that if you're stuck in a one question, just flag the question, like mark it and move on. You can always go back to it. Very important thing is that if your internet connection drops suddenly, the Bluebook saves your progress, so don't worry about that. You can just continue from where you left. College Board says that most student issues can be resolved after restarting the Bluebook application, but you may still lose some time, I guess. Definitely fully charge your device or just bring your charger with you. It's very important. You don't want to stress with that. Even though College Board says you will not lose time, you will lose time, of course, and you will get interrupted. Even 1 minute can be important sometimes. Finally, it was the first video of my digital SAT video series. I will do more detailed video about each section. For example, detailed analysis of reading and writing section of digital SAT and tips about that, and also for the math section. Also, you can follow me on my Telegram channel. I share daily posts about admissions to US colleges and SAT tips. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video, continuing my digital SAT series. Bye!